Welcome to the Intimate Marriage Podcast, where I teach educated, successful couples how to have incredible, passionate relationships so that you can stop compromising and start feeling fully alive in your relationship. I'm Alexandra Stockwell, aka the Intimacy Doctor. I'm a physician, a relationship and intimacy coach, and I'm an intimate marriage expert. My husband and I have been married for 26 years. We have 4 children and full professional lives, and we've created an amazing marriage. I've shown hundreds of couples how to do so as well. So if you want to deepen your understanding of your own relationship and learn to access new heights of emotional, sensual, and erotic intimacy, you're in the right place. I will show you how. Now, let's dive in. How do you feel about Valentine's Day? What are your plans for Valentine's Day? At the time of this episode, it's right around the corner, and I have some great suggestions for you, so listen to the end. But before I get into that topic, I want to thank the Elena S.A. for your review on iTunes. You said, truly enjoying listening to her informative discussions on intimacy and marriage. So glad I found this podcast. And you know, I'm so glad you found it too. And I'm also so glad that you posted a rating and a review so that other people, when they're considering listening, will know what the Intimate Marriage Podcast is all about. So if you're listening and you like what you hear, please give a rating and a review as well. If you're driving, don't do it now, but do it at your next opportunity. Now, we're going to get into what I consider a really interesting topic. It's one that came up a few months ago while I was coaching a couple, and it made so much sense to me once it came up, but I hadn't actually thought about it so clearly before, and I'm wondering if you have. So let me tell you what it's all about. It's about the apparent dichotomy and tension between having a growth-oriented relationship and feeling really satisfied, contented, happy with how things are. Now, the way this arose is that I was coaching a couple. I'm going to call them Janelle and Richard. Janelle is this beautiful, soulful woman who is really motivated with her own personal growth and also in having a relationship that is steeped in personal growth, expressive of personal growth. So let me say what I mean by that. Janelle is someone who, when she gets up in the morning, she has a whole beautiful, consistent morning routine with yoga and meditation and taking a walk and journaling and doing breath work so that by the time she's ready to face her day, she's grounded, she's centered, she's cleared her mind and body of tensions and unhelpful thoughts, and she's ready for what the day will bring, wanting to meet it with as much of her soul as possible. Her work reflects this. I'm not going to go down that path, but I just want to say that the way her whole life looks reflects her devotion to her own personal growth. Every day she's considering, what does she want to let go of? What does she want to bring into her life? And how can she have more depth gratification and make a more meaningful contribution to the world? And she really, really loves Richard. Richard is a brilliant man with a little bit of a happy-go-lucky feeling or vibe, although he's an extremely intelligent, disciplined, ambitious entrepreneur. And he actually works really, really hard. So when he's not working and when he's hanging out with his lovely Janelle, he wants things to be lighter, feel satisfying, contented, fun, kind of on the up and up. He's open and certainly sees the benefit of going deeper into complications in order to face the shadow and realize what's on the other side of any kind of discomfort they're experiencing. But by and large, he would love to be having brunch at a cafe, having fun, laughing, writing poetry, just doing things that specifically have him feel lighter and fulfilled. Now, he loves Janelle and wants a relationship that is aligned for her. And Janelle loves Richard and wants a relationship that is aligned for him. In other words, they both want it to be aligned for both of them. And I was having a conversation with them, and Janelle was talking about wanting to collaborate on a deeper commitment to having a growth-oriented relationship and really defining what that would mean for the two of them. And Richard kind of took a breath and leaned back in his chair and said, "Can't we just be happy? Can't we just enjoy ourselves?" And he was presenting that as an alternative to doing deeper growth, personal growth work. And I said, "Oh, are you saying that because you think the two are mutually exclusive?" And he looked at me like, duh, the sky is blue. Of course, feeling content is the opposite of being deep in personal growth. And I think the way he was thinking about it is that if you're in personal growth, if you're in a growth-oriented relationship, then by definition, you're always working on improving things. You're always looking for the next better, deeper, more expansive, connected experience. And in many ways, that's true, except that for Richard, looking for the next deeper, better, expansive, more connected, amazing learning and growth was diametrically opposite being contented with what you have. In other words, wanting more inherently meant being dissatisfied with what is. For Richard, a growth-oriented attitude essentially is a very future-oriented approach that denies the riches of the present moment. And honestly, I was so glad that he said that so that we could really unpack this, because I think until this time, they thought they had a kind of insurmountable divide, a difference in perspective. But I personally don't see it this way at all. It's certainly plausible that could be the case, but that was never going to be the case with the two of them, given their individual personalities and the love they have and the way in which they're both ambitious people. Because all natural processes in nature, in animals, in humans, and in relationships, there are phases of growth. Whether you see that in nature, if you live somewhere where there are 4 seasons or 3 seasons, you see that cycling that happens. When it comes to our physiology, the most basic phasic element is that we breathe. We inhale and we exhale with some amount of pausing in between, but there are a minimum of 2 phases in breathing. And in relationship, when a couple is growth-oriented with a growth mindset, wanting to continue to meet life with intention and attention and responsibility and joy, knowing that more pleasure, more connection, more intimacy is available, there still are phases where the growth can be hard and challenging and intense, sometimes feeling a bit like a crisis. There are times of growth which can actually have a lot more ease, mostly if you don't resist it. And then there are times for integration and settling in, feeling content and joyful with the new baseline before the next phase of growth arises, where there's some sense of wanting more. Yes, that can come in the form of dissatisfaction, but it doesn't need to. It can also just come in the form of the emergence of a new desire and leaning in and aiming for something else and really focusing on the growth and the learning and the new expansion. And then comes another phase of integration and achieving the new baseline, making friends with the growth so it's no longer such a novelty, but becomes more usual, and really feeling a lot of contentment and satisfaction until another desire emerges. And life will find you. This will happen whether or not you want it to, although it's certainly possible to choose your next area of growth so that it's not necessarily initiated by discomfort or tension, but because the two of you decide, okay, let's focus on more laughter in our next growth phase. Let's focus on more pleasure in how we touch one another sexually and not. Let's focus on watching a whole bunch of documentaries about the French Revolution and talk about it. That actually is not anything that's ever come up with a client or anything I've been drawn to do. I just wanted to give some sense of the range of what's possible. Anyway, I explained all of this to this couple that honestly, my husband and I, who have been so motivated with personal growth, one of our growth phases involved being really content with the way things are, just really celebrating and being grateful and more deeply experiencing what we already have in the way of connection and intimacy. So this shift in perspective really allowed them to come together and see ways that they could really meet both of their desires, her deep yearning for more growth and his yearning not to always feel like the way things are isn't enough, but instead to feel contentment and satisfaction. I'll add that if you're someone who typically is super driven, ambitious, long to-do list, works really hard, then for you, doing nothing, putting your feet up on the couch and watching Netflix, that is real growth, as is meditation or just sitting in your garden. I mean, it doesn't matter what particular form of, quote, doing nothing it is. If it feels like you're doing nothing and that is super uncomfortable for you, then there is growth to be had in that. And similarly, if you're someone who doesn't tend to get things done, who feels lazy, well, then becoming more disciplined is an extraordinary form of growth for you, and making more things happen would be growth for you. So what I'm really trying to convey is that there's always a beautiful invitation to find the gratitude, the contentment, the satisfaction, the real appreciation of what you have in the present moment, and also let your desires and yearning guide you in terms of where you focus in your next phase of growth and learning together. A way to make this more practical is to ask yourself, what are your current desires? And what is the best place to put your attention in order to experience more of what you desire. It was very beautiful to see Janelle and Richard able to blend what they both wanted and see that they weren't divergent paths, but could really be the same path forward, each of them contributing different elements. And similarly, my wish for you is that you always feel like things are enough and you see how you could create more goodness and connection in your relationship. So now, with that as the context, I want to do two things. One is tell you that my guided date opportunity, it's a workshop, but it really is a guided date, is an incredible example of fun, satisfaction, delight, and personal growth all at the same time. It's exactly why I've designed it to be that way. And it's really one of my favorite things that those who've participated say afterwards, that it's fun, it feels light, and yet it's really meaningful and accomplishes more than a whole bunch of therapy sessions. So if you're not looking for therapy, don't worry about it. I'm just talking about the people who are already going to therapy. They have that contrast. So if you're looking to have more satisfaction, more connection, and also a more explicit growth orientation in your relationship, please join my next Uncompromising Intimacy 101 workshop. You can find all the details at alexandrastockwell.com/workshop. The link is in the show notes. And let's get back to Valentine's Day. I'm going to ask you again, how do you feel about it? What are your plans for Valentine's Day? Because I have created a free course. It's called Make Your Valentine's Special. And I've taken a lot of the principles that I've described in this podcast and put them into Make Your Valentine's Special, starting with identifying your desires. And I'll guide you through what to do next on your own, what to do next with your honey. The course is free. I want so many people all over to have the best Valentines of their life this year. And in this free course, I give you everything you need to create that with the person you're with. So the link for that is alexandrastockwell.com/Valentines. And the link for that is in the show notes as well. So if you're not sure which one to do, go ahead, sign up for the free course, Make Your Valentine's Special. And if you're really interested in going further, join me at the next Uncompromising Intimacy 101 workshop for some satisfaction and some beautiful growth in your relationship. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, and please leave a rating and a review. And if you're ready to deepen your relationship and create a truly intimate, delicious, and vibrant marriage, head over to the Work With Me page at alexandrastockwell.com and choose the program that's right for you.